This happened to me last winter. I live alone in a small house in upstate New York. It's nothing fancy, just a 2-bedroom place with a basement and a small backyard. I work from home, so I'm in the house most of the time, and during the colder months, I barely go out unless I have to. It was late January. We just gotten hit with a snowstorm the night before, and the roads were still a mess, so I decided to just stay in for the day. It was around 2 p.m. and I was working at my desk in the living room, just doing some emails and trying to finish a report for work. I remember it was unusually quiet outside, no wind, no plows, no footsteps. Just that thick, heavy silence you get after a big snow. Around 2:30, I got up to make some coffee. As I passed the hallway that leads to the basement, I noticed something weird. The light under the basement door was on. Now, that might not sound like a big deal, but I never turn that light on. I almost never go down there. The basement is mostly just for storage, old boxes, tools, a broken dehumidifier. There's no reason for that light to be on. At first I figured maybe I'd gone down there a few days earlier and forgot to turn it off. I do that sometimes. I shrugged it off and went to the kitchen. But while I was pouring the coffee, I started to get this uneasy feeling, like something wasn't right. I walked back to the hallway and just stared at the door. I don't know how to explain it. Nothing had changed, nothing had moved, but I suddenly felt really alert, like my body was picking up on something I couldn't see. I walked over, put my ear against the door, and listened. First, nothing. Total silence. But then, just as I was about to pull away, I heard something. It was faint, but it was definitely there. A soft shuffling sound, like something being dragged slowly across the concrete floor. I stepped back. I live alone. I don't have a dog or a cat. There shouldn't be any noise coming from down there. I stood frozen for a second, coffee in hand, staring at the door. I thought maybe a raccoon or some animal had gotten in through a vent, but the more I thought about it, the more that didn't make sense. There's no real way in from the outside except the bulkhead doors, and those were locked and buried in snow. So I did what anyone would do in that moment. I grabbed a flashlight from the junk drawer and my phone, and I went to open the basement door. But it wouldn't open. I twisted the knob again. Nothing. It was definitely locked. Now, the weird part is, there's no lock on that door. It's just a standard interior knob. There's no keyhole, no bolt, nothing. It's never been able to lock. I even remember laughing a little at how ridiculous it was. I tried again, rattled the handle harder, even gave the door a shoulder nudge. Still nothing. That's when it hit me. If the door was locked, it had to have been locked from the other side. That was the moment the fear really kicked in. My heart started pounding, and I backed away slowly. I called out, "Hello? Is someone down there?" But I didn't get a response. Just that same dead silence. I went back to the kitchen, locked the back door, then checked every window in the house. Nothing was broken. No signs of forced entry. The snow outside was completely undisturbed. I ended up calling a friend of mine, Tyler, who lives a couple blocks over. I didn't tell him the full story at first. Just that something weird was going on and I didn't feel safe. He said he'd be over in 15 minutes. While I waited, I just sat on the couch, facing the hallway, staring at that door. I kept thinking I'd hear more noises or maybe see the doorknob turn, but it stayed completely still. Eventually, Tyler showed up and I told him everything. He didn't say much. Just grabbed a hammer from the kitchen drawer and walked straight to the door. He banged on it once and yelled, "If someone's in there, you better speak up or we're calling the cops." Still nothing. Tyler gave it a few hard hits with the hammer until the latch gave and the door swung open. We both stood there at the top of the stairs for a second. It was cold down there, like way colder than usual, and the light was still on, buzzing faintly. The basement was quiet. He went down first and I followed. We checked every corner, every shadow, behind every box. Nothing. No animals. No person. Nothing looked out of place. But here's the part that still freaks me out. Over in the far corner, near the old shelving unit, there was a folded camping chair, something I know I didn't put there. And next to it was a small paper plate with crumbs on it and an empty plastic water bottle. Tyler just looked at me and said, "Dude, someone was living down here." We called the cops and they came and did a sweep. They didn't find anyone, but they agreed it looked like someone had been staying there. The bulkhead doors had scratch marks on the inside, like someone had tried to wedge them shut. Still, the police couldn't figure out how anyone got in or out without leaving tracks in the snow. They suggested it might have been a squatter who got in before the storm and somehow locked themselves in the basement. But that doesn't explain how the basement door, again, a door with no lock, managed to stay shut like that. I ended up changing all the locks, added a deadbolt to the basement door, and installed a camera down there. Nothing's happened since, but I still have trouble sleeping sometimes. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and check the camera feed just to make sure the light's off and the door's still closed. And every now and then I'll get this weird feeling like someone's watching from the basement window. But when I check, there's never anything there. I still don't know how long they were down there, or if they ever